So we're gonna start framing up all these interior walls here. We've got 2 bathrooms, we've got a office sales area right here, and then we've got an entry right here that people are gonna be able to come in, hang their coats up. Once this is done, then we'll work on the floor deck. We've got all these I-joists, and we've got the legacy subfloor. That probably won't happen today. My goal is to just get all these walls built, and we're gonna be using LSL engineered studs on all the walls. I'm gonna get the bottom plates marked out, but then I'm gonna take the laser and I'm gonna determine the location of the studs. God, my phone is crazy. So I'm gonna use the laser, the rotary laser, once I determine where my floor upstairs is gonna be, because I can make that perfect. I can't change, well, Greg and I can't change the concrete at this point. It's here, it is what it is. I mean, we could grind it. Why would we do that? So what we're gonna do is use the laser to determine the location of the studs and the height in relation to that concrete to make sure that our floor is as perfectly level as possible when we frame that out. I'm sure the concrete's not gonna be bad, but if I were to just take my LSL, which is very straight, and look at it, there's a little bit of a gap over here, and my top, or my end here, is not touching the ground exactly. So it probably is gonna be close. We'll see if we've got to do much adjustment. The laser never lies. Now you may be wondering why I drilled such a big hole for only 1 inch and about 1 1/8 1/4 pipe. Because in my experience, this area around this hole is never as flat as the rest of this, because when a guy comes in and finishes the concrete and he's troweling around this by hand, it just never fails. There's more concrete right here. It just helps me, I think, do this a lot better and give me plenty of room to work with. Now, because we're not using a green treated bottom plate, we're using, why my phone's so jacked up, man? All right, since we're not using a green treated bottom plate, I'm gonna go ahead and run some of this seal tape across the bottom to create a barrier between the LSL and the concrete. I don't know if this is 100% needed, but I do know if I don't do this, I'm gonna get a ton of comments in the video, people saying, oh man, you're not using green treated bottom plate. And you'd probably be right. It's probably a great idea to do this. So it's a pretty easy thing to do. It takes a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, and then you get the nice peace of mind knowing that you've at least protected the bottom of your customer's wall plate from any potential moisture issues being in contact with the concrete. Now with this wall in particular, because of all these holes, because of the pain that it might be to get it installed as a whole wall unit, totally can be done. But just because I'm gonna save myself the hassle and because Greg is busy doing his thing, I'm just gonna go ahead and install this bottom plate. And then once I get my floor joist installed above, I'll put my top plate on, get a laser distance measurement to the exact height of each stud, and I'll just cut them and put them in one at a time. One thing I already did is marked out all my stud locations, and I came 16-inch center off the outside of my wall. That way, when I lay my floor joists, all of my floor joists will also lay out 16 center, making sure that they line up exactly above my studs and not needing a double top plate on my wall. Let's turn that off. Now, what I can do is I can run down the whole length of this wall. Like, let's say I've got a stud. Let's see, where do I got a nice stud? Right here. This is a wall connection for my bathroom. I've got a stud right here. I can set my level plumb. That's a little bit weird, but my level, I'm gonna set it plumb and I'm gonna read this. Now this says 5/16. So that's telling me that my laser, in order to be the same as over there, needs to go down 5/16, which actually means that the floor right here is high 5/16 compared to way down there. We move down our way, we check it again. This is also 5/16 high, which means my sides are a little bit low. This is perfect. So this side and that side are perfect as far as elevation goes on each end, but through the middle, this comes up just a little bit, and I can fix that by taking the laser to each stud, and let's say like right here, 5/16, I'm going to use the negative 5/16 to my overall dimension, which I want an 8-foot ceiling. So I will subtract 5/16 from my stud length for this specific stud. So I'll do that on each one of these locations. And in theory, my floor should be perfectly level because this wall should be perfectly level. And we lasered all the locations where our floor is gonna hit. So everything should be accurate as a laser is, which we're using Stabila, so we know it's good. Most of these are barely off, 1/16, 1/8, so it must just be a high spot over here, because these are all 16th and an 1/8, which is not bad at all. Okay, now we just jumped up to 1/4, so there must be a high spot right here. What's that? Yeah, it's probably sloped to the drain. Yeah. Couple pluses and minuses of LSL. Obviously, the plus being it's engineered, so it's consistent, it's straight. You don't have to worry about twists and warps. You don't have to crown all of your wall studs. The negative is that it is a bear to get nails in, no matter what nailer you're using. Like that. Sometimes they go in, and other times you gotta finish them. It is some dense stuff, but it makes for a very, very straight and solid wall. See, that's the top of my door header, the bottom of my door header. I need jack studs cut to fit here. These are all gonna be different a little bit because the bottom's different. Now, since this whole wall assembly was built off the laser, which means not every stud is the exact same dimension, I can't just cut my jack studs for my door openings all at the same dimension. So what I did was I came from top of the wall down to determine each individual cut, because I know that I'm 1'2" from this top plate to the bottom of my door opening, or the top of my door opening, however you want to look at it. So I'm going to cut all those jack studs for each individual location. This is a radiant heated floor. We got to be careful with drilling into it. It's very nerve-wracking, to say the least. So we're using 2 3/4 Tapcons, which means by the time we go through the plate, we're really only about 1 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch. We have very little risk because our pipes are on the bottom of our 4-inch slab. I think it's a 5-inch slab anyway. I'm almost positive he said he was doing 5 inches because of the tubes. Check out this vacuum here on the Milwaukee rotary hammer. It's a M12 powered, self-powered. It's got an on, off, and auto switch. As soon as I start to plunge into my drilled hole, it turns on. It's gonna run for a second. And then it's gonna like click the filter to try to clean it off. Pretty cool. This what even makes a GRK work hard, dude. I will say this thing is pretty fast. Now that we've got all the walls up that we need up at this point, we're gonna go ahead and get the I-joist set on top for our floor system. We still have this bathroom wall that needs to be framed up, but because there's all those pipes coming through that bottom plate, it's just not as easy to build and set in place. It'll be easier for us to install our floor system, put a top plate underneath that bottom of the floor, and then just use the laser distance measure to measure exactly what those studs should be, and then install them one at a time by toe nailing them. So it shouldn't be too bad. We're getting this header all marked out where our I-joists go, and then once again, we'll take the LDM and get an exact dimension, because it's not very easy pulling a tape accurately 25 or 24 plus feet. So all my dimensions, Greg, I'm gonna have to add 1.5 inches, because on your end, it's going into a hanger. On my end, it's sitting on top of these walls. 24, 7.5, so 24.9. So we start with fulls way over there. That way we're running the whole length, and that way the span.
And the middle we can use.
And then the middle we'll use, yeah. So let's go ahead and cut these all down to 24.9 and 24.9?
Yes.
We'll start back in the wall, work our way out, and we'll use the pieces cut off to go there. It just
pass this side.
No, just take it right to that corner. That's where this bad boy comes into play. I just gotta pick it up and turn it. So we've got this box right here. This is going to be an opening for a spiral staircase. We forgot that initially when we laid all these I-joists out. So we moved them out of the way, and we're just getting this all situated right now and getting everything plumbed up. But we gotta cut those I-joists down to fit on this side, and then this will be the opening to the upstairs.
You want to open over, or you want me to hand it to you different?
Just lift it up, ready? Where's the center?
About where I am.
Okay. They're I-joists, man, they're light.
Not too bad at all.
Not for the size. The size to strength ratio. Here's my question, dude. Do I even need to fill this in with lumber other than just so it looks good? It's literally spanned by that header. There's nothing that's gonna, just because?
I don't even know. Like, if you do drywall, I mean, you're not gonna be, you don't need those little pieces there for drywall.
Maybe we'll do it just to make sure. Yeah, let's just do it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. 3 and 13/16. So now that we've got our floor joist installed, I'm gonna set the laser up here It's just our simple line laser. And I'm gonna shoot it exactly along the edge of my bottom plate and then up this wall right here. And that's gonna give me a nice line across the top that tells me exactly where the outside edge of my top plate is gonna go. And I got this nice laser line right down to the LSL. Another reason that using LSL is so nice for these walls, because you don't have to fight it back and forth like we did on that I-joist out there when we put it on. We had to push and pull it to get it to line up with the LSL face of that wall. If I put it on that end, right where my laser is, and it's exactly where the laser is there, the green laser line goes right down this board. Perfect. They're engineered perfection. Kind of like you, Greg. You are engineered perfection, man. All right, so now I've got that top plate there. So now all I have to do is take my, Greg, you got my LDM? Yes. Now I can take my LDM and shoot right down to my plate, and it'll give me the exact dimension that I got to use. Nice thing is I don't have to worry about which way that these boards are crowning. Look at that. They're just going to fit right into the location, because I'm telling you, the LDM, it just doesn't lie. Where is my... I love that. They go in, I love it when they just literally go perfect. Decided we better go for some pneumatic power to see if this helps. LSLs are extremely dense, and while the battery powered and gas battery powered PAS load was working okay, not good enough. We still had to finish hand nailing, so we're gonna go ahead and give this guy a try. We've got some PSI cranked up, maybe a little bit more than we should, but this is the first time using the pneumatic. Greg, what do you think? Do you think it's gonna work or no? Good Lord, hope so. Yeah. Oh, all the way in 100%. 95%. Not enough. Better. It's way better, yeah. Okay, make sure when you lift this, we use our backs, not your legs.
Yeah, you don't use your legs, you'll hurt your legs.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt your legs. You gotta save those for leg day. Get up on your steel toes. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is lightweight, bro. Good Lord. What were you crying about the whole time? See, now if this was a stud wall, it would be so, like, you know, cracked out that it would want to fall over.
Well, remember at Miners, we made that one, it was like all like tweaked.
Yeah.
It was twisted and nasty.
Yep. Good lifting with your back, man. I think that's heavier than the other wall. This obviously will be the heavy side. Let's go ahead and lift up and put a block underneath you. Yeah, start small. 1 second. Yeah. Ready? Yep. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. pretty sure I felt my spine compress. Now, if we were smart, and we usually do this, but we just got ahead of ourselves, we would have marked and hung all of our I-joist hangers on the ground. So what I'm doing is I just took a little scrap piece. Greg marked out every 1 foot because these are gonna be 1 foot on center because of the span. And I'm just going through and setting them on the line right where we want them. You could just screw your I-joist in temporarily, which is also what we do sometimes, and then put the hanger right on it and then install it. But while I was waiting, I figured I might as well get some of these done. And you're ready, right? You got some cut? Using this new Pasload positive placement nailer, so you see the tip there. You're just gonna stick that right in your hanger hole. That's why they call it positive placement, because you can feel that positive engagement into the hole. You got a second? Let him know. Okay, hold it steady. Hold it steady while I milk the cow. What song, Greg? That's right. Ludacris, man. Remember that guy?
I don't know what happened.
He's just sitting somewhere on a beach, living.
A bunch of girls in bikinis, watching racing cars.
Thinking about Paul Walker. R.I.P. man. So this first I-joist, even though we've got a wall girt that sticks out 1.5 inches and our wall doesn't start till 1.5 inches out of the post, we're gonna go ahead and nail this first I-joist up against the post. It's gonna add a little bit of rigidity and kind of give us a nice starting point, I think. I don't know. I'm breathing hard. Why am I breathing so hard? Good thing these are lightweight. I mean, I know most things are for you, but. It's as low as I can go. I don't know, you need to come back further. There you go. Ah, you did it, buddy. Let's go. Dude, without hearing protection, this would be an absolute nightmare. And there was days that I would have never worn hair protection doing this, Greg. There was a time in my life, Greg, where I was dumb. Can you believe it? I know, it's hard. See my line? I can get it there, I just can't see it.
Which side do you go on?
Right there? All right, so it's time to start putting this mezzanine walkway together. So it's not gonna be a clear span. That's 36 foot. I wouldn't wanna do that with wood unless I had some major beams. First thing I'm gonna do, I've already got this I-joist stopping right at 4 feet. So what I'm gonna do is take my line laser. I'm gonna get it lined up as close as I can. I'm gonna mark that, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on that end. That will get me my line where I can put my post. That way I know where to put my 2 columns that are gonna support the catwalk. I've got my 2 lines marked, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and snap a line. Okay, and that's just gonna give me a good reference mark so I can come and measure where my posts are gonna go. 35 foot 2 and 11/16. That's 11 foot 8 and 7/8. So now I can measure out 11 foot 8 and 7/8 off of both walls, and I'll find the center of my columns. 11 foot 8, 7/8. Okay. So there we go. That's one bracket down. All right, so I went ahead and I built some 4-ply columns. These are filled out to be 5.5 by 6 inches. It just works pretty good for these brackets. And I've got them lasered so that they're exactly where my floor system will rest right on top. As you can see over here, I've got this column just sitting here. I've got an LVL resting, and now I'm gonna cut an I-joist to go the length of the building. And yes, I know, my columns don't look very straight. That'll all get straightened out when I get my framing up. Now, the good thing is, check this out. I'm not sure if you can see this, but I got my laser still set up, and it's right on my line down here, and it's right here on the face of my column, exactly where I want it. So that means I did my math correctly, and that's good. So I'll do the same thing and laser up this column over here once I get this connected on that end. Let's see. Get that right where we want it. Well, I'm pretty excited because tomorrow we should start installing this LP Legacy 1.125". People always ask why 1.125", and honestly, just because I like a extremely durable, stiff subfloor. That's what we're gonna use. It's gonna be awesome, and tomorrow we should be able to get going on that after we wrap up a little bit of this framing on this catwalk. I gotta get some more joist hangers so that I can do that correctly. And then, yeah, we'll get some line snap, get things straightened out, and we'll be off to installing the subfloor. So we'll be back here tomorrow.